Why did Sam Altman get displaced for a brief moment before 95% of the workforce said that they were going to quit and join Microsoft's team? And Microsoft even said, we're just going to recreate OpenAI with Sam, which, by the way, I don't think they would have ever been able to do that just with Sam,
That's right.
but they could potentially try and recreate it with the rest of the employees who then said they would join Microsoft and recreate OpenAI. Um, Okay. All right. Well, for everybody, ladies and gentlemen, it's MikeIsaac in the building. New York Times tech reporter, writer of books. We are going to be talking about AI and OpenAI specifically, and Sam Altman. So I thought, well, I actually originally asked Noah. I was like, "Who do you think I should ask?" It's like, "Who's a good guy to talk to about this?" And he was like, "Go ask MikeIsaac." And I was like, he was supposed to come on my stream at a certain point, so he owes me.
So I swear to God that it was, what was it? It was Elon, right? And it was like the most
Yeah,
insane bailing on, or it was not me ducking you. It was me just like constantly getting pulled into news. I swear to God.
yeah,
But I do
yeah,
owe you. So this is consider us close to even.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I'm glad you're here, and of course, Chad is probably gonna have a lot of questions for you as well.
Totally.
And so starting off with, I mean, I guess what the fuck is OpenAI? What is going on? What is going on there? What's happening in Silicon Valley? Why are they like that?
The this is actually really good for me to remember just because like I've been tech reporting for like 14 years and like am steeped in all this shit and like people are like, "Oh yeah, of course Sam Altman." But like normal people don't know who this guy
Breaking
is.
news
Is that
overnightist.
right? Like most people don't know who this dude is, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's been good to like step back. So so Sam Altman, he's this longtime sort of tech entrepreneur in the Valley. He is pretty well liked by most folks, but it's more important that he's pretty powerful, at least among startup land. He co-founds this company called OpenAI like 8 years ago with a bunch of other folks, and I think like people didn't pay a ton of attention to it just because all of their shit is very like this is us trying to protect the world from AI that's going to kill everyone, and it always sounds like crazy, or at least to a lot of people it sounds crazy, is what I'll say. But a few years ago, or at least 18 months ago, AI suddenly became like this hot thing. The company blows up. Microsoft invests $13 billion in it. There's
Can
all
we talk
these,
about that
yeah,
real quick? Because like as far as I
totally,
understand, and I know Mike Barbaro, my favorite podcaster, covered this morning on the Daily
yeah,
with one of your colleagues, where they
yeah.
talked about how the structure of OpenAI originally was a nonprofit.
Yes,
And the nonprofit structure was controlled by 6 individuals, some of which had actually contributed to the data and the technology behind the artificial intelligence.
that's right.
And then later along the way, I think literally after Elon Musk pulled his finances from OpenAI, stopped backing it, Sam Altman turned around and looked for donors.
Yep.
Which Microsoft was one of those donors, and I think like built, I guess, a for-profit entity outside of the company or inside of the company technically, but the
Yeah.
for-profit entity was still managed by the nonprofit 6-person board.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's like the whole that's kind of the reason we're in the mess that happened over the past 5 days. But like the whole point of the beginning was to form it as a nonprofit because in their like idealist mind, they're like, we want to create AI that's good for the world. That, and again, this is why they did it. Like whether you believe any of this actually works or is true, like that's fine. But I think their reasoning was, we don't want it to be profit driven. We want to be ideals driven and have the sort of money not be a part of it. We don't want that to sort of drive the equation.
yeah,
And then they found out basically that the amount of money required to do this type of computing for large language models is fucking astronomical. Like data centers that process this stuff first of all, people are competing for that computing power. It just costs tons of money, and they weren't able to raise it through donations alone. So they're like, all right, we need to Frankenstein a, a sort of LLC attached to this on the back of it, which is how they started being able to raise like investment rounds and money from companies like Microsoft, Sequoia's in there, which is a blue chip venture capital firm. And so like over time, it became a nonprofit that was ended up being very profit driven, attracted a lot of employees based on the promise of money, attractive investment based on the promise of money. And so like I think that's the heart of the tension now is like idealism versus the capitalism that kind of infiltrated the company, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But this distinction is important as far as I understand, because like Microsoft had a clause that they could not use it for profit, like all the data that they've actually like pumped $13 billion into, which I don't really understand how they would have like been able to force that to happen anyway. I think that like ultimately it wasn't going to work out regardless.
Yep.
So why is this part important though? Because the 6-person board on the nonprofit side that controls everything at OpenAI apparently started getting a little worried about AI's future. Sam Altman, at least according to the New York Times, had always maintained this posture where he was like, I'm taking the AI thing very seriously. And I think that, you know, we have to go and talk to global leaders and try and make sure that this doesn't get out of hand and it doesn't have like negative long-lasting consequences on mankind. Some of which I think maybe even went a little too far with the whole like, I created this machine, this behemoth that's going to like end the world or whatever, you know, like I thought that it was like a little bit too much marketing even.
Yep.
But then also simultaneously he thought that it was a positive thing as well. That could be very beneficial, this technological development.
Yep.
And the guys that consider it to be too terrifying or too destabilizing of a force decided to oust him, as far as we understand. I mean, he's a weird guy, Sam Altman, from what I like, as far as I understand, like, you know, his background and whatnot. He's not exactly like a super normal dude anyway, but none of these tech guys are really.
That's kind of par for the course out here. I think everyone's like used to a level of weirdness or whatever. And it's certainly extremely weird people on the board. I mean, you know, whatever. They're computer scientists, so it is what it is. But
Yeah.
I think your read is right on Sam in that a lot of his sort of showboating around, like he went from like a relative figure only in Silicon Valley to like meeting with world leaders and, you know, getting these huge sort of profiles in different publications, including the one that I work for. And like his celebrities grew. And so Congress called him in, he started testifying. There was definitely an element of strategy to the idea that you're poking holes at, which is this is going to kill us and only I am the one able to
Yeah.
control it, sort of thing, you know? And and that's a way to it's also a way he was lobbying the government basically to say we need to control it. We need to sort of like have regulations come down on how people use data or how people use or what LLMs are allowed to do. And so that the sort of underneath argument there is a form of regulatory capture where anyone who could compete with them or any smaller upstarts that could come and catch up won't be able to because the big guys are already kind of sitting in there. So I think that's like
Do you
fair.
think that, can I ask you a question? Do you think in
Yeah.
your own assessment that the regulatory capture element here is akin to like Sam Bankman-Fried also cooperating with the government to be like, hey, we really got to get a hold on crypto to be the guy who ends up holding all the reins. It's not dissimilar to how is it Gerber that has like that has maintained like this sole distribution of sunscreen in America, because like the sunscreen in the United States of America is like unlike any other European or Korean or Japanese country. Sunscreen in the United States is regulated by the not the FDA, but it's regulated as a drug. So due to that, new sunscreen can't really enter the market, and therefore American sunscreen does not have is not competitive in comparison to other other nations, like sunscreen from other places. So it's
Yeah, I
just
look into that.
just an example of regulatory capture. I mean,
No, totally. I think that that is exactly the. I mean, we saw like a version of this with like Facebook and their way of fighting TikTok and sort of. I mean, the folks who are at the top, the sort of incumbents or the people who have sort of already made it, always want to try to like pull the ladder up out from underneath them so that the would-be competitors won't be able to do it. And exactly like the analogy that you're talking about is like, all right, we own the market, or at least we for OpenAI, I think it's more around the amount of data they've already ingested and not allowing others to sort of act similarly. That's really tricky because like they're currently enmeshed in like potential lawsuits or whatever. But I think for them, they're just like, how can we sort of make this safe and not let companies like Meta, formerly known as Facebook, do this. It's a super wonky, but like open source version where basically anyone can create chatbots and the LLMs are all sort of the code is all out there and their philosophy is rather than one or a few companies having it, everyone should basically have it, if that makes
so
sense.
is OpenAI in its origin at least like? I feel like part of the reason why it was a non-profit, it was a non-for-profit, was or because like they wanted to open source it. One, due to the fact that maybe some of them were genuinely like old school internet guys who believe in open sourcing. Like OBS
Yep.
is what I use currently to stream, and I love OBS and I love open source software in general. But then
Cool.
the other reason probably was because of the insane magnitude of data that you would need and the cooperation that you would need from others, and you know they wanted to get that free labor basically off the ground. So I suspect that was like the reason why they wanted to bring it to the table as like as open as possible, while
Yeah.
simultaneously like did not want it to be captured by Google, for example,
Yes.
as a main competitor, which was launching a competing product. So overall, it seems to be like there's these competing interests, but now Sam Altman coming back, what does this mean for OpenAI?
That's so I think you're totally right just on like the early foundations were pretty idealistic and like look for all the criticism I'm very skeptical on whether this stuff is going to kill us all. I'm more worried or I'm more focused on what jobs are going to be taken immediately and I still think AI is not that great in doing a lot of stuff so I don't think it's necessarily immediately on the horizon of stealing everyone's jobs but that seems like the more practical thing to think about in the short term. Um, I think this whole past 5 days in this battle is kind of a reflection of the idealism of keeping AI safe, but harnessing the power to help the world. That's this one camp's ideas. Uh, that battle versus the accelerationists who want to just speed it up, put the foot on the gas, and get it out there as fast as possible, and uh, have fewer guardrails, or at least like faster development than the other camp. And it seems like the Sam Altman camp, i.e. the accelerationist put on the gas camp, won at least. You know, I will say that the board of directors, which is a whole other thing, is going to be reimagined. So they're trying to like put some checks and balances on whether Sam can just sort of do whatever he wants anymore, like he used to be able to. So that'll be kind of reined in. But Sam is back, and he also has like 95% of the employees behind him and threatening to walk out if they try to fire him. So he has a lot of power here, and I think they're just going to keep moving really fast. Now, whether you think that's dangerous or not is a whole other, is this bullshit or whatever. But
Yeah,
it's there,
I don't fully understand like why people love Sam so much. Like I don't get it. To me he seems like yet another classic like Silicon Valley guy who is like I guess a little bit more charismatic than the average Silicon Valley guy, so he becomes the king of the nerds even though he's not like the brain behind the operation at all. It's always like the marketing guys that dominate this fucking space so much. Like they are there. I feel like there's three different types of guys in Silicon Valley. I'm going to be very reductive here, but in your experience, I want to hear if you agree with me or not. You
Sure.
have the obvious, like the engineer guy who is virtually impossible to communicate with and has a very hard time like presenting his case. You
Yep.
have the fucking VC guy who is the annoying douchebag finance bro. And then you have the marketing guy, the guy that wears the turtleneck, who loves, Steve Jobs being the marketing guy, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, or rather, Mark Zuckerberg more so being like the techie guy, kind of in between. And then I don't know. I guess Elon Musk would be more so like the finance bro guy, but he kind of falls in the other category as well.
Yeah.
But people say he's a brilliant engineer, but ultimately he's not like engineering any of the products that he's like just purchasing simply as an angel investor or whatever. So,
That's right.
on that front, like I don't know. I guess Steve Wozniak would be the engineer guy. So on that front, and
Yeah.
many other people that you never hear about, what is Sam Altman in those three categories? He seems like the marketing guy, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think he would even say, I mean, I don't know him that well, but like I think he would even say like he's a what they call a non-technical founder, right? So he's not an engineer, he's not there creating code, but he does his like superpower is, and look, like there are probably more charismatic people in the world, but maybe we're grading on a curve as far as Silicon Valley goes. And I think that
Oh
like
yeah.
he's good at marshaling this support for himself as this visionary. And if you get him in a room and sort of he talks about his vision and stuff, like people, earnest folks in the valley who just are like, I want to create something and build or whatever, who love hearing that, really soak that up. And I think he's very smart in playing to that. I think he probably believes a good amount of it too, but I think he knows how to like sell and like win certain audiences over. That's also why, if you followed the tweets around this whole saga, he got a lot of sympathy and played the press pretty well, if you ask me. Like if it's kind of, it all happened really fast, but like you could see how his perspective was coming out in a lot of these stories. But you're exactly right. He's a marketing guy. I think I think all of these companies know that they need a version of the marketing guy to really sell their product, in the sense that if you have the nerdy guy up there and and can't really just explain what they're doing, no one's going to care. So I
Yeah.
think that's his real strength for sure.
Yeah, no, it's like if you go to Stanford and you're like an English major in Stanford and you figure out how to do like decent technical writing, you can be like the next billionaire
Dude,
Silicon Valley god, because at least you can like clearly craft sentences together and sound like you're smart and intelligent. People will think you're brilliant. You're a god.
I have
Anyway,
friends who do. I was just gonna say I have friends who are writers who are kind of also have moved to tech stuff, and they'll go into a tech company and like just write. They'll be asked to do like a basic like press release or whatever or something, and like write it in like, or a blog post for a tech company. Write it in like 2 hours, and the tech guy asking to do it will be like, how the fuck did you do this? This is amazing. But
yeah.
like you're right. These are basic, not basic. These are skills that liberal arts majors at least learn and are valuable. And you could probably, if you combine it, you could probably do pretty well.
Ironic that we're talking about fucking OpenAI and ChatGPT while simultaneously talking about liberal arts majors, because like the reason why this is hailed by so many STEM lords is because like they believe this is an opportunity for them to also exercise their creativity, because it works in a way where they could just like, I don't know, type a couple almost like lines of code, like it almost codifies the artistic process for them, or at least the many different aberrations that have come out of this like AI bubble. Um, but that's the point where I mean I personally think it's like a decent, it could be a decent tool, but of course I understand that like this is mostly going to be utilized to displace a ton of workers and make the workplace more efficient. And with that efficiency will come obviously the elimination of redundancy. So that's another thing I want to ask you. You have Lawrence H. Summers. Why the fuck is Lawrence H. Summers one of the country's most prominent economists?
Yeah.
Your words in the New York Times. Why is he a late addition to the list of potential board candidates?
So we have been trying to hammer down the "where did Larry Summers come" question for, I guess, God, I don't even know what day it is. I guess like 24 hours now, whenever it was announced. Not even like 18 hours ago. And we don't know the exact reason. We don't know why he was reached out to. The thing that some folks we talked to were saying was, well, first of all, Larry Summers has been on a number of tech boards in the Valley. So he's been on Square, which I think is now called Block. He's been on Lending Club, which is basically a finance company masquerading as a tech company. Some data analytics one. So he's like kind of already dipped his toe in here. And I think guys out here, specifically guys out here like him, and sort of like that, what they position as like independent thinker, and like someone who sort of embraces certain forms of capitalism and how it works, and he has connections, right? He's connected to Sheryl Sandberg. He was Sheryl Sandberg's mentor when he was at the Treasury, and Sheryl Sandberg's name was floated. Sheryl Sandberg's COO of Facebook, former COO of Facebook. Her name was floated as a candidate for the board during this whole cycle. So like, he's been around the orbit for a while. He also, I don't know if you've seen these like speeches he does on like how white collar work is going to be affected by AI, and like, so he's like got some nascent interest in it. But I think they admire him, and I also think they needed someone who wasn't like deeply connected, because this board was so dysfunctional and fucked up, and they didn't have any like people that weren't like directly had like their interests represented or connected to Altman or connected to the other side. They were like, who can we find that we believe is neutral enough? And they, I guess, landed on Larry Summers.
Yeah. I do love, I mean, I love having a guy like that on the board of this is tech giant. But so what's your assessment then? You think OpenAI, I mean, it's interesting, but people are, I guess, exaggerating its impact a little bit, like maybe for marketing purposes, as a matter of fact, because that's what I think. I think that there's definitely an element of like, ooh, this is very scary, by the way. Look out. And the reason why people do that, I think, is just to like, to hawk their product a little bit. Overall, I do think that AI, when it's better fleshed out, will genuinely change the world. Possibly not in a very good way. Possibly in some very bad ways, due to the likes of Larry Summers, who have already said it's a great opportunity to level a lot of playing fields and will shake up the white collar workforce.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in the thing I've been thinking is like, it is both overhyped and underhyped at the same time. And by that, I mean, the last thing I'm worried about is playing the tape all the way out to like Skynet. Like, that's like people who, to your point, like, it's a marketing vehicle. Like, this is so powerful, it's going to fucking kill us all. So of course you want to be a part of it, or of course you need to like pay attention to it. Right. And like, I'm just like not there yet, as much as like all these computer scientists like are saying like, no man, you don't get it, whatever. I just don't think we're there yet, particularly because the general application of AI that we see in like basic chatbots or models that are trying to have generative AI conversations, like human conversations, are not that great. They're not great yet. At the same time, I agree with you that there is a swath of jobs that can be directly affected by the introduction of a lot of this stuff. The new version of Photoshop, I don't use Photoshop, but I have artist friends who do, and they got like a preview to try it. Some of the AI generated features are like these like AI fill areas.
Yeah.
And they were like, holy fuck, this is something that I have spent years learning and use every day in my job, and I'm very concerned this is going to automate me out of the job. So it's like smaller tasks that are still bread and butter for a lot of people, or like legal tasks. I don't know. There's like probably a lot of examples that exist and can be automated out of existence that are concerning and will displace a lot of people. And we shouldn't take that lightly. That's the part I'm more worried about, I guess.
So what's the speculation? Why? I mean, that's the big question here. Why did Sam Altman get displaced for a brief moment before 95% of the workforce said that they were going to quit and join Microsoft's team? And Microsoft even said, we're just going to recreate OpenAI with Sam, which, by the way, I don't think they would have ever been able to do that just with Sam, but they could potentially try and recreate it with the rest of the employees who then said they would join Microsoft and recreate OpenAI. At which point, even some of the six that had originally pushed for his ouster were that went back and said, "Yeah, okay, we want Sam back." But what was the original reason in your mind? I mean, this is again not reporting. This is pure speculation at this point.
Yeah, I would say informed guess is this was a real power struggle at the top by a number of folks who slowly became uncomfortable with the growing celebrity and influence and sort of fast and loose way Sam played with talking to the board and telling them stuff. Like one example is he was trying to spin up a chips hardware startup with by pitching SoftBank, which is a huge financial sort of investing magnate. I think they're a hedge fund. I'm not exactly sure if it's the right term, but SoftBank, which has billions and billions of dollars on the backs of his relationship with OpenAI, which again is ostensibly supposed to be a nonprofit, right? He has a side project with Johnny Ive of Apple, formerly of Apple, where they're trying to build another device, which he also sort of like said, well, I can use my OpenAI sort of clout here to do this. And I think my guess again is like he grew too. It was kind of an Icarus story in the sense that he flew too close to the sun way too quickly, and it just bothered the people on the board who are uncomfortable with that and like appreciate slower, more methodical movement over time. But at the same time, they also posed for photos and enjoyed the sort of glamour of being at the hottest startup in the valley, at least in AI land. So everyone's a little conflicted. There's no heroes in this story, is what I would probably say.
So, is OpenAI's future going to be one that is for profit openly now, or is there still a not-for-profit structure that's in place? Like, so what do we think is going to happen with this shakeup?
I think that's still a open question, only because the board that they have in place, the 3-person board, and reinstating Sam was literally to just get that minimal structure done as fast as possible, and then work out all the details after Thanksgiving, particularly because they all haven't slept in a week. And I have not slept that much this week. And so like I think everyone was like, we're super fucking tired. The entire world's coming down on us. The pressure is crazy. We just need to like get part of this done and then decide and then negotiate out what the rest of it looks like with governance. What does our board look like? What are we still a nonprofit? Are we ditching some of these other parts of it? And that's going to be a fight. I think that's going to be weeks of negotiation, if not longer, just because there are some really strong personalities on that board. Adam D'Angelo is a super strong personality that's going to keep pushing back to the roots of this whole thing. The CEO of Quora, by the way, that's one of the people on the board.
CEO of what?
Quora, the Q&A.
Oh, Quora. Okay, got it. Yeah. Oh, the best website online.
It was my favorite fucking website.
I didn't realize he was so woke. Like,
yeah.
I guess Quora is kind of like Wikipedia if you want to learn all the wrong things. It's the Wikipedia for when you want the wrong answer, like 100%.
Did you see that one about the like parachuting baby the other day, where like if you're falling off a cliff and a baby in a parachute has to ask you if you believe in God, and if you say no, then the baby lives and pulls the parachute. I don't know, man. This shit is fucked up, but it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's funny to think about, but like, I mean, I guess Chat GPT does have a lot of Quora in it, in the sense that it does lie sometimes, and
True.
very convincingly, much like a person that is answering your questions on Quora. You know,
It
it's
should be.
great. It's very Reddit on that front too.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
okay, so yeah, I mean, this is so far. It seems like this is palace intrigue, I guess, and
for
beyond
sure.
that. I mean, I thought that there was like way more powerful stuff going on due to this person being ousted, but it doesn't seem like it was. It seems more so that he was getting too big for his own britches due to people, especially as a non-technical founder.
Yes. That
Um,
yes.
Due to people that were more serious about artificial intelligence and wanting to keep it the way it is. So, all right, we got some questions from the chat. Go ahead,
All
chat. I
right.
mean, number one, how do you keep your mustache the way that you do is like the first thing that people asked.
I love it. Say thank you. Um, my father is Lebanese, my mother is Mexican, so I have like the uncanny ability to grow this 5 o'clock shadow at like 8 a.m. But I do have a mustache comb and some beard oil that I use pretty regularly on this. During pandemic, I had like a full like crazy beard. I kind of miss it, but then I don't know. I feel like the mustache is coming back. Maybe I'm not cool. I can't
Someone in
tell.
the chat said he's like Peso Pluma. Do you know who that is?
I don't know. Who's that?
His name is Hasan, actually. Originally, he's a Mexican artist.
I'll look him up.
He does narcos corridos, but
Nice.
like he's a Lebanese Mexican music artist.
No way. Shit. All right. I definitely Peso Pluma. All
He's
right.
popping. He's popping, dude.
Gotta check him out. That's rad.
All right, what else, chat? Do you guys have any other questions? While Mike Isaac is here, can you talk about China's Chat GPT copy?
Yeah, that's a good one. So the last I have heard, so they keep a lot of that shit locked down, but like the last I had heard is that China's actually way far behind the US in this development, which is another sort of it's another thing that like Altman has lobbied the government on by saying, look, you need to keep regulation on us fairly light because the thing that they always do is say if you don't want us to get beat by China, you need us to like win, you know?
Yeah.
And like Facebook does this shit with TikTok in Congress and
It's
like
just weird that it never works in the other direction, like where you never hear Amtrak be like, "We need high-speed rail because otherwise China is beating us." They're like whooping our asses.
oh
It
my
only
God, I would
works
love
for deregulation in the tech sector.
that.
Sucks.
Which is exactly why the argument's disingenuous. But I think the much as I know is that they're investing a lot in it now, but they're not seeing the similar sort of breakthroughs that American tech companies are. And again, with the caveats that like this doesn't mean hyped up HAL 9000 shit is coming immediately, but like as far as like what's happening in at Google or DeepMind in London or in the University of Toronto, like a lot of the smartest people in the world working on this stuff is in the West, and I think China's going to take some time to catch up. But I don't know. That's what I heard as far as like 3 months ago, and this shit changes fast.
By the way, this happened literally 3 minutes prior to you
Oh.
coming on the stream, but I
What
don't know if you,
happened?
Elon, or 3 minutes prior to us, me asking this question to you, but Elon Musk posted extremely concerning a Reuters article.
Please no. Did he really
Exclusive.
fucking say that?
Exclusive. Sam Altman's ouster at OpenAI was precipitated by a letter to board about AI breakthrough. Sources. This is a Reuters. This is a Reuters article that was updated recently, but it came out. I guess it says 11 p.m. UTC.
Wow. Okay. Oh, you know what? I did see this. Okay, so I would be really careful about this shit. Elon also has like a horse in this race, so definitely be careful about what he's saying. Like he wants Sam to fail, and he was actually pushing for Sam's ouster because and then there was a way of him like sort of saying, "Should I come back in and be CEO?" Bloomberg reported that, and we think that's right. And like, so he's like kind of hyping shit around all of this, so be very careful with him. But like, it's the the idea that they had some crazy the world is going to end breakthrough and this is why we need to push out our CEO thing seems pretty far-fetched to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm very like wary, and then Elon is a very unreliable narrator is what I would say.
That's great. I can't believe you would say that. After all, he's currently duking it out in the interest of free speech. Free speech being able to promote, blue chip companies and next to Hitler wasn't wrong posts on Twitter. So he's
they're on fire, man. They're on fire right now.
Yeah.
In a bad way. That's a bad thing.
I mean, they haven't stopped being on fire since Elon brought that fucking sink into the headquarters, and I think it was in New York.
Oh, that's
to
right.
do the let that sink in. And the sink was just sinking the company, it turns out. But who could have guessed that? What do you think is the runway for Twitter at this point, which I refuse to call X even to this day. And
I can't call it X. I still say Twitter in stories.
I love that all of the style guides and all of the mainstream media outlets is that they always say X, formerly known as Twitter. Like they refuse to call it X across the board.
Because no one knows what X is. Yeah. Like normal people who are not like constantly online like we are, there's still Twitter stickers in like shop windows near my house,
Yeah.
I think they're super fucked, man. Like they're like, so they've been losing revenue so that they're trying to do, as you know, like the switch from ad revenue to subscriptions. It's clearly not working because you need millions of people to pay $8 a month to make up the hundreds of millions in ad revenue that he's losing by switching this. And this whole recent Media Matters sort of snowball effect with all the advertisers pulling out is hitting them harder than any sort of advertiser pull out so far. It's like he could not have timed his very crazy replies at a worse time during the middle of a war where everyone is already like super riled up, and also just sort of, and like he's like constantly accused of being an anti-Semite or a white supremacist all the time anyway. And then
he keeps proving every accusation by responding to Himmler's tit 1488 accounts being like Jews are doing white genocide, and then he goes concerning like every time, or this is the truth. I believe this 100% and unconditionally. And then and then he's just shocked when people go, "That's gross. You're a fucking nasty fascist. What the hell are you saying? I don't want my ads to fucking run next to your disgusting propaganda." Like Nazi propaganda. It's but free speech,
which is a reasonable response. I would say like it's not if I'm an advertiser, like Twitter doesn't drive sales. Twitter is like a brand advertiser thing. It's basically like a hype train, right? So like it's not like Facebook where you actually convert people to buying your shit. It's more like putting a billboard on a sidewalk or something, just so people know. So that money is already kind of negligible to a lot of advertisers, and exactly what you're saying is like when there's Nazi shit all over the place, we don't need to be there. That's
it's literally it's Gab. It's 4chan. Yeah. It's just like it's completely turned into poll. Yeah. It's awful. Like if I'm the CEO of Gab, I'm so mad that like my website no longer is. I mean, it was already on the. Yeah. It was already. There was already an endpoint to a website like that because it just like gets polluted with like every Nazi pedophile on the planet. But now they're all on Twitter anyway, so and openly operating. So that's one issue. I mean, even Paris Hilton, as a matter of fact, just recently pulled her advertisement from Twitter, which is devastating, absolutely devastating for Twitter. Where is it? Let me pull this up. The queen of pop culture, music, business, and TV is #Sliving on X. At Paris Hilton, welcome to the X family. We're excited to launch an official partnership with you and your next-gen media company, 1111. Together, we're going to create a launchpad for new initiatives in video, live commerce spaces, and so much more. Let's do this. Linda Yaccarino said this on October 2nd, and according to Media Gazer, the 1111 Media suspended an ad campaign on X 1 month after announcing a partnership with X. It's unclear whether the partnership is still on as of yesterday.
Yeah. I think I don't know if the partnership is still on, but I think it's sometimes one thing that they do a lot of time is like pause for the storm to pass. But like this is a bad one. Like, how do you like rewind? Like I don't know. Elon is trying to do everything he can. He's like, okay, all the ad revenue we get, which is slowly bleeding out the door, we're gonna send it to. Uh, I think literally to donate it to Israel in during the war is what his tweet said. And so he's trying to just sort of like basically pray that people forget or just prove that he's not anti-Semitic, but like it doesn't seem to be working because they're
Here's
already
a
having meetings.
here's a really good way to avoid all of that. Just stop saying anti-Semitic things and stop agreeing with anti-Semites. I feel like if you're the CEO of a company, it's like not that hard, you know. It's so easy to just like not do that, but he simply can't. I mean, he keeps getting in his own way. Also, here's a tweet from @safety. NewsGuard is about to publish a report in air quotes. I thought this was literally an Elon Musk tweet, by the way. The way this is written out is exactly like an Elon Musk tweet that I thought it was Elon himself writing this. They were about to publish a report in air quotes on misinformation on X. As a for-profit company, they will only share the data that underpins their purported research if you pay. NewsGuard Rating also uses these services reports to pressure companies to buy their fact-checking services. It's a profit over any principal model. X has not seen any of the data in their report. Before publishing, we encourage all media outlets to request the data underpinning their claims. You know, and also simultaneously, U.S. lawmakers are asking the SEC to launch a fraud investigation into Elon Musk. So he's having a hell of a week right now. Meanwhile, what is Elon Musk doing? Oh, that's right. He's trying to sue Media Matters for correctly pointing out that big advertising agencies are buying ads next to Hitler posts.
Yeah.
Like over and over again. So it's great. I'm so glad that he at least destroyed the bots on the website. So now I only get 700 porn accounts, porn bots underneath all of my tweets.
It's always porn too. It's always the same. I've always wanted to do.
It's porn or it's Pusha T.
Or it's. That's a good word.
Those are the only two.
Story on who is that? Do you know that Roxy account, that porn person? That it's always, for me at least. I don't know. Maybe this is revealing something about my cookies, but it's always the same bot with the same person in it, named like Roxy or something, that replies to every one of my tweets. And I want to do like a story that the Times will never let me do, which is like, who is this person and why are they like the face of porn bots? You know,
I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't even look at it. It's always like hidden, at least for me. So I'm just like, all right, at least it's hidden.
I guess I clicked down.
Someone said Roxy Ered. Roxy is literally a real person. That's what they're saying.
It is a real person. Okay, thank you. Because I was like, is this an AI generated porn bot or is this a human being that also is a porn person? So like, thank you for at least solving that. That's wild.
That's good. We're doing crowdsourced journalism reporting here.
Yeah, this is journalism. Your chat is awesome.
All right, well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on. I don't want to take up more of your time. This was a wonderful moment. Hopefully, we'll be able to have you back on soon.
I would love to. I will not shine you on again. Thank you for having me.
Anything you want to promote before you leave? Anything you want to hype up?
Shit. I did a book on Uber a few years ago called Super Pumped. If anyone wants to read it, it's still out there. And I'm trying to write another book right now, but it's super fucking hard because writing is the worst. So I'll bug you when I have to come and sell that at some point.
All right, hell yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. Thanks, chat. Talk to you all later.
Bye.